What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Justin Ford podcast, where I'll be releasing life-changing principles and valuable information focused on all things faith, finance, family, fitness, real estate, and so much more. Let's go! Welcome back to another episode of the Justin Ford Unleashed podcast. Super excited to be with you here again today. Hopefully you've been doing great since the last episode. If you're enjoying the show, do me a favor, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. You can subscribe here on YouTube or on your favorite podcast platform. And if you're absolutely loving the show, go ahead and hit the review button. If you love the show, leave us a 5-star review. Tell us how you love the show. Tell us, what your feedback is, and feel free to also share this on your social media platform. And if you haven't followed me yet, you can at the official Justin Ford. Again, at the official Justin Ford. Got another great episode in store for you today. We got a special guest coming to you from Dallas, Texas. But before we get into that today, I wanted to remind you that this episode is brought to you by my friends over at Next Door Lending. Next Door Lending is a team of professionals that believe everyone should be treated as if they live next door. The founders and team members have more than 150 years of combined loan experience, helping clients all over the country choose the best loan program to help you accomplish your goals. Next Door Lending is currently licensed in 23 states and has a team of over 100 professional loan officers specializing in helping you get the best rate and terms. Whether you're looking to refinance your next home or you're looking to purchase your next home, call my friends over at Next Door Lending today at 888-885-3667 or visit their website at nextdoorlending.com. Super excited to welcome my guest and business partner, Mr. Cliff Freeman. Cliff, welcome to the show.
Wow, Justin, that's some operation you got going there. I'm honored to be on your show today. Thank you.
Oh man, honored to have you, Cliff. I appreciate you having me on your show. I was a guest on your show. I think it was last year, maybe even 18 months ago, and I know you've got a really big show. So to have you on my show is an honor as well. How's everything going? Tell us. You're in Dallas, and you obviously have a real estate team down there. We're business partners at EXP. You've been in production as far as selling real estate for how long? How did you get into real estate?
I used to joke that I was born into the business, and I would tell people that my mom, who was a realtor, was out showing a house when she was pregnant with me, and her water broke in the middle of a showing. Don't let the facts get in the way of a good story, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I've been licensed for 38 years now, I guess,
Wow.
and originally I didn't do a lot with it. I did some commercial business and
Yep.
just had it handy for when I was doing leases. I've kind of been a serial entrepreneur, and that's why I walk with a limp, if you've noticed. But uh, it's something that I really, I didn't want to do what my parents did,
Mm-hmm.
and I swore I would never be in real estate until the time came
Yeah.
where I guess God just spoke to me and said, "Hey, this is your zero moment of truth.
Yeah.
You need to go and get into real estate." And so when I moved back to Dallas in 2000, I went full time into lending, and my license was working, and so
Yeah.
I was doing some things with an independent broker, a friend of mine down in Houston,
Yeah.
who had sponsored my license, and
Yeah.
so got real serious about it back in 2005. Joined a wonderful company, the Brand X, with the red label and the KW on the signs, and worked. Just had a wonderful time.
Yep.
Was a productivity coach at the Frisco Market Center here in the Dallas area, and
Yeah.
the rest of the story is kind of the rest of the story. But
Yeah.
that's a long answer to a pretty
Oh,
short
that's
question.
awesome. And so it's funny you say that about, growing up in real estate. My kids, that's all they've seen me do. And so I've had them, go on showings with me, wait in the car for a showing, help me go put a lockbox on the door. And I'm sure the last thing that they want to be when they grow up is a real estate agent. But it's funny how you kind of, got into real estate. Was your mom was that her main career is a real estate agent? Did she do it part-time on the side?
that was her full-time deal. And
Wow.
I had a hard time understanding it. My dad worked for a corporation for 30 years, and I knew what he did, but
Yeah.
my mom would just like out of nowhere say, "Oh, your tuition's due. I need to go sell a house." And I was like, "Wait a minute, you what? I don't, explain how this works to me."
Yeah.
And so, but my mom was amazing. She had all the drive and was really entrepreneurial at heart, and she actually had a big influence on me when I was younger, and so did my dad.
That's awesome.
But she encouraged me not to stick with the status quo. My dad was
Right.
pretty much, stay in your lanes and do that, but
Yep.
mom was the one who encouraged me to, go out and try new things and take risks and really just try to put a dent in the universe. So that's where real
That's
estate
awesome.
really played back into it. Yeah.
W- So you got into real estate back in 2000. What did you do before real estate?
Oh gosh, when I got out of graduate school, I went and worked for Kidder Peabody, which was part of GE Capital back in the late '80s. If you weren't around during that time, it was an infamous investment bank in New York, and had quite an interesting history about it. But I actually was in the capital formation business for a number of years, and helped small companies get access to capital markets and worked with institutional and high net worth individuals on portfolio management and that type of thing. And then I just got the bug, to be an entrepreneur. It's something that I like the roller coaster. It's more
Yeah.
fun than the merry-go-round, as my left would say.
Yep.
The merry-go-round, you're always looking at the same thing and going in a circle,
Yep.
and the roller coaster, at least it's you get one life here. God
Right.
gives us one shot at this, and
Yep.
so you might as well make the most of it and have the most fun and enjoy it. And
Yeah.
that's what I did. Just
That's
uh,
awesome.
yeah,
Yeah. So you
was in
got
the
into
bar
real
and
estate.
restaurant.
Oh,
Yeah,
you were in the
sorry, go ahead.
No, you were in the restaurant business as well.
Yeah, and that's also it's funny. That's kind of a path into real estate. People that do well serving others in the service business
Yep.
really understand what it's like to go kill your paycheck every day
Right.
instead of having a steady income. When you're working on tips,
Yep.
and believe me, the restaurant business is pretty much 100% commission.
Yep.
It's just you learn how to serve people.
Yeah, because that's really what real estate is. I always tell people this is the people business. Real estate is just the product, that you're helping people to either purchase or sell. And if you're really good at people, right, and having good relationships and good communication, I mean, that's really what real estate is all about. I was actually just telling one of my new guys yesterday. I said, when you go on a listing appointment and you're competing against other realtors at the table that are being interviewed, they're going to select the person that makes the best connection with them, that they feel the most comfortable and confident with. I said everybody puts a sign in the yard and everybody puts their home on the MLS, and I said 90% of the time the home is being sold by a co-op agent through the MLS. Yes, we can market on social media, and yes, we can do all the fancy drone photos and videos and all of that stuff, which I think is great. I said, but the seller is going to choose you based on how you make them feel. I said, and so what you really need to do, Carson, is get really good at communicating and making the connection with the person so that they feel comfortable and confident that you're the guy for the job.
That's exactly, and along those lines, I tell people all the time, look, your sale is not consummated when the house closes.
Right.
Your sale is consummated when you get that listing agreement signed
Yep.
or you get that buyer tenant. That's closing a sale, is
Yep.
when somebody hires you.
Yep.
The rest of it's just making the sausage. It's
Yep.
going back in the kitchen, cooking the bacon and the eggs.
Yep.
But your job is to sell yourself, and that's when you get paid, actually,
Yep.
is when you do that. It's really not when I mean, it's technically you do, but the reality is that all of that money is superseded by either a listing agreement or a buyer tenant rep agreement.
Yep. Absolutely. And so you got in 2000. It's funny. I know you said you started kind of, you're with KW for a while. I think everybody, had a go around at some point with KW. I know I did. A lot of people start there. Great company. And I always say it's the second best company out there. Um, how long were you with KW?
I was there 3 years
Okay.
and got baptized
Yep.
in the KW culture, and
Yep.
I read the Old Testament,
Yep.
the Red Book, Millionaire Real Estate Agent, and
Yep.
we jokingly call that the Old Testament because EXP has allowed us to do things for agents that here for were not possible under the old traditional team method. For
Yep.
example, Justin, on the traditional team,
Yep.
buyer agents, in order to move up, they typically had to move out.
Right.
And when they did, the person that poured into them and trained them and coached them how to be great agents,
Yep.
that's when their income stops off that person.
Yep. Absolutely.
Well, when I created my team at EXP,
Yep.
my mantra was, look, this is a 2-year MBA in real estate. You
Right.
get 2 years with me
Yep.
as an internship.
Yep.
And after 2 years, I'm going to kick your butt off the team
Yep.
and get you out of the nest.
Yep.
My dad used to tell me that, the only way young birds learn how to fly is to get kicked out of the nest, right?
Yep. Yep.
But the good news is that I'm going to continue to support you because
Yep.
the model that we have puts us in total alignment. In other words, it pays me to help make you successful.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that is what is the key. That is what is so different about EXP versus any other
Any
brokerage
other brokerage. Yeah.
out there
Yeah.
is that we're long term there to help the people in the company. I mean, it's that's why I call it the New Testament as
Yep.
opposed to
The
you
Old
have to move
Testament.
out to move up. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it takes you take on a totally different mindset as a team leader to where you don't have this fear of this person walking out. Your goal is to turn them into a rock star and, like you said, kick them out of the team nest so that they can either build their own team or just be a great solo agent within your EXP organization, to where you still not only benefit from a monetary standpoint, but you still have the relationship intact. Because we know that most of the time when people leave a traditional team, it severs the relationship, right? Good, bad, right, or wrong. It's really hard a lot of times to still have a relationship with that agent. And so how long was it until, obviously you're with KW. I don't know if there was anywhere you were after that, but obviously I call you an OG over here at EXP because you've been, with the company for a while. How did you first see, the EXP model, and when did you know, like, I'm jumping into this thing and I'm going all in?
Yeah, well, just to fill in the gap. So I left KW and I actually joined as a coach. Jay Kinder and Mike Reese started a coaching company called Kinder Reese back in
Okay.
about 2008 and asked me to help them. I worked in the same office with Mike Reese at KW, and
Yep.
he asked me if I would interview with them for a coaching job for one of their elite coaches. And so I did. I got the job. And for 8 years, I was an elite coach for for Kendra Reese.
Wow.
I left KW shortly thereafter and became an independent broker, and basically had what I would call the first virtual brokerage. Not to knock anything, it was the first that I was aware of. Glenn had
Yeah.
already started, EXP
Yeah.
and was way ahead of me, but I was servicing and building websites and doing pay per click for agents all across the country. And then we had sort of a sharing arrangement so that I could participate in commissions and help them. And these were some of my coaching clients and so forth. So I had a mix of coaching and production myself, and
Wow.
that really worked out great for. I thought and the thing is, a lot of people think getting their broker's license and having their own brokerage is the top of Mount Everest.
Right.
And I got news for you, friends. Uh, it ain't.
Right.
That's the top of the sidewalk is what that is.
Right.
That's nowhere near the top of the mountain.
Right.
Uh, and you don't have the leverage. And we could go into a
Yeah.
deep dive on why
Yeah.
you don't want to be an independent broker. But
Right. Yep.
all I can say is that when I saw the EXP model, it solved literally every problem that I, as an individual agent, and us as a coaching company, had been trying to solve with many other different iterations of things that we tried to help teams. But
Hmm.
the EXP model literally brought everything together. And I always say, our founder, Glenn Sanford, was the perfect three-legged bar stool. Uh, he he was a mega agent at Keller Williams. He was a tech guy. He built one of the first AOL chat rooms, and he knows technology like crazy. And
Yep.
he also was a stockbroker. So he and I both shared some similar experiences. In fact, my undergrad is electrical engineering, so When I saw this model and what he had put together, I knew that if he had the right people, and that's what I did in order to vet EXP.
Right.
All of their information at that time, they were publicly traded. They weren't uplisted yet,
Yeah.
but we got uplisted in 2018 to Nasdaq. But
Yeah.
you could still find out everything. I wanted to make sure the people, Justin, were the right people, had the right core values, and were a good fit for what I felt, was required to take that business and make it successful.
Which is interesting, because when you joined EXP, what year was it when you joined EXP?
Well, the short story is Brent Gove had just attended in October of 2015. He had attended a shareholders meeting for EXP, and I think there were about 80 people there, if I
Wow.
recall correctly.
Wow.
And we just had the last one in Orlando last week. I don't know if we
Yeah.
had 5,000, whatever the number was.
Yep.
Um, but but Brent found me, and it was crazy. It was the last day we were doing our exponential growth summit at Kinder Reese. Josh Altman was one of the keynotes. Last day, he was signing books, and in walks Brent from San Antonio on his way back to Sacramento. Now Brent Gove, he was Keller Williams Red, had a $125 million team, number one, number two,
Yeah.
Remax, everything. This guy's just Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And he finds me there in the Marriott Shops of Legacy, and he corners me, and I'd like, Brent, are you okay? And he's like, Cliff, he goes, and he looked like it was almost like the transfiguration. He had his hair was all disheveled and he was kind of glowing a little bit. But he said, I've got to tell you about this little company. He said, in fact, when I get back to Sacramento, I'm moving my entire team over to this little company called the EXP. He said, go find this lady with the long blonde hair who happened to be Sheila Fejeron, who was at our event, and tell her you want to see the video. You want to watch the
Wow.
webinar. So
Wow.
I did, and literally blown away when I saw the model. I said, "This is genius.
Yeah.
Um, it will change the real estate industry forever as we know it." And like I said, if we can execute, the company had been around for 8 years, but when they got Gene Frederick and Rob Flick in the mix,
Yep.
I'm telling you, that was the inflection point,
Yeah.
and that was the catalyst to go from 2,500 agents in January of 2016 to 88,000 agents today.
It's crazy. And so when you were introduced to the company back in 2015, I mean, how many people were in the company at that time? Wasn't it only like 2,000 or even less?
My anniversary is on January of 2016, and I
Okay.
believe at that time I had just less than 2,500 agents. Yeah.
Wow. And so you were taking a chance on a little company. You already had a successful independent brokerage. You already had been doing some stuff that was working really well for you. And you, Brent, all of these guys, Gene, you guys all had successful businesses, and you all took a chance, on this company and went all in. And here you are, fast forward, 8 years later. I believe you have over how many? Over 12,000 people in your RevShare organization, making past profits don't guarantee future gains, multiple seven figures just on RevShare, not including your personal team, which we'll talk about in a minute. Did you ever see back in 2015, did you ever see or envision yourself where you are right now?
I have to say so. Otherwise,
Which is
I
good,
mean,
because I'm the same
yeah,
way. I see big. Not everybody
yeah.
does.
I remember when I was growing up. I'm older than probably 90% of people on this podcast. I would venture to guess, but I remember when Mark Spitz back in the '80s was swimming for his eighth gold medal, and the television reporter asked him before he was getting up on the thing to jump in the pool.
Yeah.
Hey, did you ever in your life imagine you would be standing here right now swimming for number eight? And he stopped for a minute and he paused and he goes, when I was 6 years old, I knew I was going to do this.
I
I
love it.
just knew it.
Yep.
And so that's the thing. If you have to expect a miracle. There's this
100%.
whole thing. I don't know. I've read books on this, and miracles don't happen unless you're willing to receive them.
Yep.
And you have to position yourself and have a vision to be able to achieve great things like Mark Spitz and Michael
Yep.
Jordan, and
Yep.
the list goes on and on and on. But
Yep.
you have to have that vision for sure, Justin.
And I believe that's one of the things that God has given us that is so amazing. And even the Bible says, without vision, the people perish. The ability to forecast and see your future and what it is that you want to achieve, I believe, and I talk about this in my book, and the power of having a vision is that's the thing that guides you through the dark times. It's the thing that pushes you when you don't feel like pushing, and it's the thing that causes you to continue moving forward, even with everything in front of you tells you to go the opposite direction, right? That you keep going. And so I love that you knew that you'd be here all along, and I'm sure that was a big part of your decision making because you saw what was possible, and here you are. And I appreciate you because you're the one that introduced AJ to EXP, and AJ was the one that brought me into EXP. And it's just amazing to see how one decision that you made, led to a decision that he made, I made, and now everybody, that's in my organization. And so more than anything, I want to thank you for saying yes, because of, if you didn't say yes, I might not be here.
Well, and listen, I'm just paying it forward. I owe 1,000 yeses for, the people that preceded me. But, the thing is, and this is what people have to realize, it's in moments where you make those critical decisions that your destiny is determined.
Right.
If you look back at the best things that you've ever done in life, they probably, and I would just say they most certainly involved you're willing to step out of the boat, take a risk, go out on faith, and just do it. And
100%.
fear is what we have before we make the decision.
Right.
But after the decision, the fear goes away.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so if you're sitting there, if you're watching the show
Right.
and you're bound up in fear because right now, maybe you're not getting the support you need at your current place. Maybe the market is tearing you up and you don't have anybody to go to for
Right.
mentorship or for guidance. You know, that what you're feeling, this fear that you're feeling, is probably involving a decision you might need to consider.
Right.
And I just want you to know that God speaks to us in a lot of different ways. But when
Yep.
He does, you want to make sure that you're tuned in and you're listening.
Absolutely.
Because for me, if I hadn't been listening, if I'd missed this opportunity, I mean, this literally changed the direction for generations of my family going forward.
Yeah.
What I'm building here, my greedy, undeserving heirs who I don't even know yet, my
Hmm.
children I love, but
Yeah.
they're gonna, and I say that jokingly, tongue
Yeah.
in cheek, but
Yeah.
they're gonna be different. Their lives are gonna be different because of what I've been able to build here at EXP. And so don't do it for yourself.
Right.
Do it for those who are gonna follow you.
I love that. I love that. And I think one of the misconceptions, Cliff, that a lot of people have about EXP is that, we don't really sell a lot of real estate. We only recruit over here, and they don't want to be a recruiter. And not only do you have an organization of over 7,000 agents within your EXP downline, you and your team sell a lot of real estate in Dallas.
Yeah, we do. Anybody that thinks that now must be sleeping under a rock because, I mean, if you look at real trends and everything, we're number one worldwide in transactions. I mean, we really sell a lot of real estate. Anybody that thinks otherwise is
Yep.
just living a dream.
Yep.
We have a team here, and we've been very blessed. Last year, our team size averaged around 45 agents, and
Yep.
we sold 513 units and did about
Wow.
176 million.
Wow.
Pardon me,
That's
I've been
amazing.
sick here the
Oh, no,
last
you're
couple of days.
good. That's
Um,
amazing.
yeah, and now we've grown tremendously. We're up to 103 agents.
Wow.
The market's taken a little bit of wind out of our sails, but originally I wanted to try to hit 500 million in sales, but we're realizing we have to adjust those on the fly here while the Fed uh, continues to pummel our business and the rest of the
Right.
economy for the sake of saving face and inflation. But I'm very optimistic about the future,
Yeah.
and if you look at how our brokerage has done relative to the rest of our peers
Oh,
in the
man.
industry, we were the only company, publicly traded real estate brokerage, that made money. Remax, Real, Anywhere, Compass lost $150 million in the first quarter
Just in the
of
first quarter.
2020. I don't
Wow.
know how you do that. I
Yeah.
don't know how you can lose $150 million without just burning it.
Right.
They've had 3 rounds of layoffs. So,
Yeah.
we had a profit. We turned a profit. Our stock's doing great.
Yep.
The company, everything here is just, I mean, given the market that we're in, we're so thankful to be here in this safe harbor as we continue to just increase market share and grow.
Yeah. And so another question that I often hear, which I'm sure you do too, and I'd love for you to answer this, is, EXP's up to 88,000 people. Cliff got in at the beginning. Some of these other people got in the beginning. Is it too late for me, and did I miss the boat?
Yeah, well, when's the second best time to plant a tree? The best time is 20 years ago. The second best time is right now, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
So, I mean, here's the thing, guys. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. And
Nope.
if you wait around for the next EXP, or if you think we've got a lot of copycat players right now that
Yep.
are trying to imitate, that's, by the way, the highest form of flattery.
It
But the
is.
problem is that they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And what we had to go through to get to where we are, these other companies are not doing, they don't have it with the same corporate finance structure.
Right.
I mean, most of these companies don't have a runway. They're going to have to go raise money in the public markets again just to get
Right.
through the year.
Right.
EXP never took on any debt. We bootstrapped the whole way. And some of these other firms are owned by hedge funds that have very short term interests, not the long term of the agent in mind. Remember, Glenn was himself an agent. And if you've ever heard what goes on in the board of director meetings at EXP, the first question that comes out of Glenn's mouth when somebody submits an idea is, how does that benefit our agents?
Mm.
That's the first question.
Yeah.
So it's a whole different world when you're owned by yourselves compared to when you're owned by venture capital companies and hedge funds. It's a different ballgame.
Totally different ball game. And I love what you said, because now we're number one in many categories. We're debt free. Like, EXP is not only known, but here to stay and really leading the charge in the next season or phase of what real estate is, because I believe that any other companies that come behind us almost have to mimic what we're doing, because the old model is just not attractive. And I know that there's still going to be, some of the bigger companies that stay around, but these franchise models can't even compete with where EXP is, because they can't change their model, to be like EXP. And I'm sure that's pretty tough.
Yeah, I when Henry Ford created the assembly line, he basically changed the way that automobiles are built. And
Yep.
I really believe that the impact that EXP is having on our industry is as big as the impact that Henry Ford had on the automobile industry. And anybody who thinks that, they're with a company and their company's all about technology and all that sort of thing,
Yep.
uh, I would just ask is, look, the most expensive thing that a person can own is a closed mind.
Mm.
So be open minded. You won't get anywhere in life with a closed mind.
Nope.
Okay. And if you haven't looked under the hood and talked to somebody who is really knowledgeable about a company, whether it's EXP or anybody else,
Yep.
don't listen to what your broker is telling you. That's
Right.
like going to a Ford dealership and asking them how Teslas drive,
Right.
right?
Right.
What are they
Right.
going to tell you? And I promise you, the day you leave your broker, and it'll happen, there's turnover in this business.
Yep.
You will not be working for your broker 5 years from now. The odds are against it. And
Right.
when you tell that broker you're leaving and you shake their hand and you say, you know what, I'm just making this move for my family and I really appreciate all you poured into me, that broker's not going to turn around to you and say, you know what, Justin, congratulations. That's probably the best move you could ever make. It's
Nope.
not going to happen.
Never. Never. Yeah, that's so true. And so, with you had said something earlier, and I'd love for you to touch on this, is you thought, and I did too, because I was an independent broker as well. You thought that, getting to the top of Mount Everest was owning your own brokerage. And right now, one of the biggest people, I'll say, or the people that are moving over a lot, are independent brokers, right? People who are burnt out, people who, don't want to carry the liability, don't want to carry the responsibility, are just like, I'm done. We see more independent brokers coming over to EXP than ever, more team leaders moving their teams over. Can you talk on that? Because obviously you were at the top of that mountain, realized it was really the top of the sidewalk. Why should an independent broker or a team leader that's watching this video or listening to this podcast or even an agent consider moving over here to EXP?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, being an independent broker gives you lots of flexibility, but zero leverage.
Mm,
And what I mean by that is you'll never get big enough where you can negotiate with vendors. You'll never get big enough where you can provide the type of education that your agents really need. You'll never get big enough where you can provide compensation. Don't be the low cost provider. That's
right,
like trying to catch a falling knife. That
right,
is not a place you want to be in business.
right.
And EXP is not the cheapest place to be. There's lots of places cheaper, but I'm a value buyer.
Mm,
And price is only an issue in the absence of value.
mm,
And there's a reason why there are like no cost, low cost brokerages out there. It's because you get zero value for that.
right. Yep.
But if you want to build a legacy, you have to be on the right platform. You have to be in the right environment. You have to be in a place that allows you to do that with leverage.
Yep.
And that's where the revenue share model, that's where the agent equity ownership model supports this growth that I'm referring to here.
Yep.
We all participate together.
Yep.
And not only is it for our own benefit, but if you ask any independent broker who's come over, why they came over. They're going to say, sure, they're going to say, well, it was better for me. But they're going to say, more importantly, it was better for my agents.
Yeah.
I could do more for my agents here. I could really help them change their lives over here.
Wow.
I just didn't have the resource as an independent broker to be able to do that. So I can just tell you, I'll look you straight in the eyes. If you're an independent broker, you're kidding yourself in many ways if you think you're doing the best for your agents.
Mm,
And then think about you. How about your legacy? What's your exit strategy? How are
mm.
you going to monetize your firm? Do you
Wow.
really think that somebody like Anywhere or Remax or whoever it is going to overpay you for what? Your database? So take it from me, if you want to build an asset that generates tons of money, you need to take a look at a revenue share program or a compensation program like EXP has so you can build generational wealth that's transferable. It
Yeah.
moves. After your demise, your legacy will continue. And so, hey, what's the most expensive thing in the world to own?
Close
A
mine.
closed one. Get
Yep.
rid of it.
And even to the person that I always say not everybody's interested in rev share, which I think everybody should be, but even for an agent, Cliff, an agent who's maybe just a solo agent, maybe has a couple of people on their team, they're not really looking to grow big, they're just doing, looking to close, 30, 40, 50, 100 transactions a year. What would you say to that person, who maybe is on the zero plan or whatever, what are the other aspects of EXP that benefits even a solo agent? Because 90% of our agent base doesn't even recruit.
Yeah. So many agents that I see that have come over here have doubled, tripled their income
Yep.
because of the leadership, the pouring into them, the access to lead generation, the access to coaching,
Yep.
the access to collaboration. 100% of a grape, is that better than 10% of a watermelon? I don't know. You tell me. But what I think is that you got to quit looking at splits and you got to
Right.
start looking at value.
Yep.
What company is in the best position to get me where I want to be 5 years from now? If
Right.
you're looking for time, location, financial freedom, I'm sorry, time freedom, financial freedom, and location freedom. Oh man, that Sudafed is kicking in.
No, you're
Then
good.
I promise you, you've got to look at how you're going to build wealth. And you
Yep.
cannot build wealth transaction to transaction.
Nope.
You've got to have other ways to create something that is going to fund your legacy.
Yeah.
Actually, who was it? Warren Buffett said, if you're not making money while you're sleeping, you're going to be working your whole life. That's
Your whole
not where
life.
you want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And one of the two things that were big for me, Cliff, is being able to build a retirement fund through the stock. I mean, I'm an Icon agent. I knew that, before I came over based on my production. I'm like, I put my numbers into the spreadsheet that kind of shows what your numbers are where you are and what your numbers are if you were at EXP. And I'm like, even if I never recruited anybody, even if I never took advantage of all the amazing tools, resources, and technology that EXP offers, from the simple standpoint of the Icon program where you can be awarded your entire $16,000 back in the form of stock, I'm like, I'm leaving money on the table and I get 100% commission because I'm the broker. I'm like, I would be making a poor business decision by staying independent than coming over to EXP and earning stock for the very thing that I'm doing, and that's selling real estate. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
You remember Glenn saying that he wanted the value proposition at EXP to be so strong that it would be totally irresponsible of yourself to hang your license anywhere else. And that's what he's built. I mean,
Yep.
we talk about 100% plus commission, and it's possible.
Yep.
Glenn has been generous. We don't own uh, just the realty company.
Right.
Our stock is EXP World Holdings, and that
Yep.
includes parts of Success Lending, the
Yep.
Success brand with Success Coaching, Verbella.
Verbella. Yep.
Any of the acquisitions that we make are part of that income stream.
Yeah.
And so, it's so much more than just the realty company. And that's what I think a lot of people don't really realize, that they get their
Yep.
dividend check, or,
Yep.
they get their stock awards, and they don't remember that, man, this is a lot more than just realty.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And so I love the rev share. I love the stock. I love everything else. But the number one thing, Cliff, that I absolutely love about EXP is the collaboration and being able to do business with guys like you. Without EXP, you and I probably would have never have crossed paths. And now we get to do business together, right? Even though you weren't the one that directly brought me into EXP, you answer every text message when I shoot you a text. If I need to talk to you, you're willing to talk to me. If I have somebody that wants to learn more about EXP, you're willing to get on a 3-way call with me. And not only that, all the amazing people within this community at EXP, even if they're not directly above you or below you, they're willing to step in and they're willing to help, because the mindset and the spirit in this company is, like you said, it's a pay it forward model. Everybody's in it to win it and help each other. And that to me is my favorite thing about EXP.
Yeah, it's so true, Justin. As a coach, I used to have to ding my clients' credit cards every month, and the average, tenure for a coaching client of mine was only 9 months. And that was a broken model.
Yep.
Now I can coach and pour into people without the expectation of getting paid immediately,
Right.
knowing that if I did the right thing, I'm going to be rewarded down the road.
Yeah.
And I think that is, we're all joined at the hip
Yep.
with the same outcome.
Yep.
And it's not a I win, you lose.
Right.
It's not a zero sum game. It's not
Right.
like flipping a coin, right?
Right. Yep.
This is where we put two and two together, and
Yep.
we get six
Yep.
instead of four.
Wow.
Okay. It's exponential. It really is. It's powerful. And if you've never experienced an environment like that, I got to tell you, it is magic. That's why everybody is always smiling. You go to these events that we're
Yep.
at, everybody's having a blast.
Yep.
We're all so excited to see each other and to
Yep.
spend time together.
Yep.
I've made friends. Thank God. I tell you, I've got such great friends that I didn't even know 6 years ago,
Yep.
that now, I mean, they are, they're behind me. They're there when I need them. I'm there to support them. It's just been such a life-changing process for me to be part of EXP. It's just, I can't say enough about it.
I love it. I love it. Well, in closing, Cliff, for those that are listening right now, whether it's again a solo agent, a team lead, an independent broker, what would you say? I mean, I know you said a lot, but in closing, what would you say, and why should somebody reach out to us?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think, there's going to be room for brokerages, all brokerages. There's a place for everybody.
Yep.
But I think that if you haven't given yourself the opportunity, if your gate's been closed and you haven't been willing to explore and seek the truth about EXP and look at it as a solution for the problems that you're trying to solve,
Yep.
then I would just ask, and I'll pray that you will have an open mind, and at least what is there to lose other than
Absolutely.
now if you really understand what's going on, you'll know beyond the shadow of a doubt it either is or it is not the place for you.
Flat out.
But don't play games with the rest of your life.
Right.
It's not worth it. You know,
Yep.
if I mean, God spoke to me, I had to listen. I
Me
don't know
too.
if he's not speaking to you, then
Right.
great. But
Yep.
you know, you really need to just consider what's the best outcome for you 5, 10, 15 years down the road. Is it, you know, trying to paddle your own canoe, or is it getting, you know, on board with other like-minded, highly successful people that have learned a way to conquer the problems that the real estate model has posed for, well, since the beginning.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. And so if you're watching this right now, if you're listening, Cliff and I would love to have a conversation with you. We'd love to show you what EXP is all about. And like Cliff said, if you haven't taken a look at this for whatever reason, you owe it to yourself to at least take a look. You never know. This could be the very thing that you've been praying for, the very thing that you've been looking for. And Cliff and I would love to do business with you. You know, when you join me, you join Cliff, and you're able to collaborate and work with people like Cliff, myself, all the way up to Brent Gove. We all, you know, we all work together and we all win together, which is one of the things that I absolutely love. And so, Cliff, not only thank you for joining me today as a guest on the show, thank you for all you do for us here at EXP. We really appreciate it.
Well, Justin, I just got to send that right back at you, man, because you've been such a positive influence on our group and on the company as a whole. I'm just very thankful and just in gratitude that that God crossed our paths here, and that we
Amen.
get to, you know, to work together. And I know there's just so many great things to come. People ask me when I'm going to retire, and I'm going to say that's you know, I'm going to have to refer back to the old Zig Ziglar statement, which was it's better to wear out than to rust out. So you're going to be stuck with me for as long as I can get around, pal.
I love it, and I appreciate it so much. And so, thank you so much again, Cliff, for being on the show. And I'm excited for doing even more with you in the future.
You got it. Thank you, and thank you for to the audience. You know, if it
Yep,
wasn't for the audiences, there wouldn't be a podcast. So thank you to the
absolutely,
audience for watching as well.
absolutely. Thank you so much, Cliff. Appreciate you.
Thanks, pal.
Guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Justin Ford Unleashed podcast. If you love the show, if you love the episode, go ahead and share it with someone. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Feel free to reach out to me. You can find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and also here on YouTube at the official Justin Ford. You can also send me an email, justin@justinfordunleashed.com. And guys, you owe it to yourself to at least take a look at this model. Like Cliff said, what does it hurt if you look at it and it's not for you? But you'll never know unless you look. I want to remind you that this episode is brought to you by my friends over at Nextdoor Lending. Nextdoor Lending is not just my sponsor on the show. They're my personal lender. I send all my buyers and business to Nextdoor Lending. They have amazing customer service, amazing rate and terms, and I'll tell you what, you'll never have a better experience than you would at Nextdoor Lending. And so if you're looking to buy a home, if your client's looking to get pre-approved, call my friends over at Nextdoor Lending today. Over 600 5-star reviews and an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today at 888-885-3667 or visit their website at nextdoorlending.com. Two things that I want to leave you with, as I always do. Number one, it's not how you start. What matters is how you finish. And number two, with God, all things are possible. God bless you guys. Thanks for tuning it in, and we'll see you on the next one.